Coast Guard personnel can be found in foreign ports over a large part of the world. The time is long past since the United States Coast Guard operated only along the shores of North America. The streets of Tokyo have become as familiar to Coast Guardsmen as those of European ports. The big modern planes of the Coast Guard are a common sight in Hawaii, and her white cutters move in and out of port there, some on permanent station, and others destined for other parts of the wide blue Pacific Ocean to service its Loran stations. Their main purpose, however, is to provide search and rescue facilities, both out of Hawaii and from ocean station vessels at sea. The pilot of a ditched plane marks his location with green dye and orange smoke signals. Such visual aids lead rescuers to search and rescue incidents. Coast Guard helicopters have performed rescues of this type through the years in offshore ditchings of planes, along coastal areas, in flooded areas inland, on medical missions. The basket pickup method of rescue, even in rough seas, permits recovery of survivors. One of the crewmen would descend and aid a survivor into the rescue basket if he were injured or unconscious. Among the larger vessels of the Coast Guard are its icebreakers, such as the East Wind, the West Wind, the North Wind. These ships carry enough fuel and stores to travel around the world without stopping. While the duties of the icebreakers take them chiefly to Arctic and Antarctic areas, they visit many foreign ports, and passage through the Panama Canal or Suez Canal is not an unusual feature of their voyages. Send a serviceman anywhere in the world, and he'll take baseball with him, even to the ends of the earth. And if it happens to be at the South Pole, there'll be no lack of room and no lack of good old American enthusiasm. Visits to the South Pole area are an annual duty of Coast Guard icebreakers. The International Ice Patrol has been a responsibility of the Coast Guard since 1912. The object of the patrol is to locate icebergs and field ice near the transatlantic lanes of ocean travel and to keep ocean shipping informed of such dangers. Long-range patrol is conducted by planes operating chiefly out of Argentia. A continuing study of icebergs to determine possible means of reducing them in size or eliminating them is a Coast Guard program. Among the methods used have been aerial bombing and the use of various colored substances to induce melting. Experiments using explosives set upon the icebergs have also been tried, with only moderately successful results. Spectacular as they may appear, use of explosives against icebergs several hundred feet in depth have produced very little destruction. The summer cruises of the cadets of the Academy may take them to the Caribbean or to the ports of Europe. Oslo, Norway offers a charm all its own, with flower-filled parks and open-air restaurants, such as the Pernis, under the century-old trees. Apleek, Iowa was never like this, except for an occasional ice cream social on the church lawn in the summertime. And there's a rumor going around that these Norwegians invented more kinds of good food than anyone. In Portsmouth, England, lies Admiral Nelson's famous ship Victory. Here is a man-of-war, one-time flagship of England's greatest hero, to be viewed by any Coast Guard cadet with wonder and awe. Veteran of one of England's greatest naval victories, this ship represents the great traditions of the sea. The Coast Guard's bark, the Eagle, moves through the entrance to a French harbor, nursed by tugs that will warp her alongside. The cadets look forward to these summer cruises under sail to foreign ports. They will command modern cutters during their career, but they will always remember the Eagle, the only one of the armed forces to still maintain and operate such a link with the great traditions of the past The Coast Guard's Eagle is a vital, living example of how men progressed in achieving mastery of the sea. The oldest of our seagoing forces, the Coast Guard has been in existence since 1790. The first 10 boats patrolled the coastal areas protecting against contraband. Today, the Coast Guard operates all over the world with a multitude of duties, including merchant marine safety, aids to navigation, search and rescue, port security, international ice patrol, boating safety, and others. The island of Rhodes in the Mediterranean has a civilization dating back to antiquity. In the time of the Crusades, castles were built upon walls of more ancient cities. Today it has a modern port at which the ships of the world arrive and depart. Its fishermen still find life almost unchanged since the time of their childhood, but sometimes alien things do intrude, such as an American motion picture company with Anthony Quinn and Gregory Peck, actors on location for Carl Foreman's The Guns of Navarone motion picture, to be produced on the island. But even before Hollywood reached Rhodes, a strange type of ship had made port and settled down to stay. The Coast Guard cutter Courier, a cargo vessel converted to a mobile radio station, is located in the port to serve communications networks of the Voice of America. A crew of some 100 men and 10 officers manned the Courier. Aboard all Coast Guard ships, the chow provided is the best obtainable. Occasionally, visitors are welcomed aboard, as in this case, when my wife and son accompanied me. This is Gregory Peck speaking. Our visit to the Courier was a most interesting one. The ship's captain, George W. Stedman, met us and welcomed us aboard. This type of operation was entirely new to us, as it would be to most people. The only floating radio broadcasting station in the world, the Courier has handled as many as 17 different languages in her programs. At present, she broadcasts in 6 languages: English, Armenian, Turkish, Russian, Georgian, and Arabic. She can send and receive at the same time, using medium and shortwave transmitters. A familiar sight met us on deck. The vessel loaded down with our own motion picture production equipment, en route from our last location to a new one nearby. Hollywood production companies today travel all over the world. When broadcast time arrived, the chief requested permission to go on the air. Warning high voltage signs were put in place. Other vessels in the harbor were warned to stay clear of the immediate area through hoisting of international signals. During transmission, the Courier creates a tremendous electrical field. The ship's transmitting equipment of 150 kilowatts is 3 times more powerful than America's largest commercial stations. Radio programs on tape in various languages are transmitted on schedules so that audiences listening to the Voice of America may know when to expect them. Listeners in the North African areas receive the program in Arabic. About 1/5 of the enlisted men aboard the ship are electronic technicians qualified to maintain and repair equipment. Such maintenance is a continuing requirement aboard this floating radio station. Sufficient power for radio transmission required by the Courier is provided in a separate area of the ship by turbines. Voice of America programs come in from Washington by shortwave radio for retransmission immediately. To the uninitiated, this may seem quite complex and technical. It did to me, as the Courier's captain explained it. But whether or not I understood, the crew of the Courier were doing their job well. This is an age of progress, a period of miracles of communication, when villages isolated for hundreds of years can hear on a portable radio the news of the world as it happens. To make this possible, men have placed electricity under control and harnessed it for their use with adequate protection against its forces. Many areas of the ship are hot with such invisible power during transmission periods. Civilian technicians assigned to the ship demonstrate this to some of the younger generation. And I confess I shared their feeling of unbelief that such a thing was possible. Power to bring light to fluorescent tubes from the atmosphere surrounding us. What a wide-ranging variety of fields the Coast Guard is engaged in, I thought, as we prepared to leave the ship. And a miracle of lighted tubes was not the only thing that this worldwide peacetime service possessed to interest and delight young men of America.